Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Rus Bas Mordechai. Oops, sponsorships are over here. There's a email from Henech Schwinger. There's no greater joy than being on a night flight to the UK and doing the daf. Today's sponsors, Yosef Mevorach, Lilu Nishmat, my grandmother, Chana Bas Simcha Shalom yartzeit is today, by Sidney Katz, in honor of Avrohom, Yitzchok, Rubin, Shloime Rosenberg, Mark Ashkenazi, and all of the other MDY team who helped me get a Gemora while I was recuperating in Lennox Hill Hospital in New York over Rosh Hashannah. Wow. I actually spoke to Mark. I believe he drove, Erev Rosh Hashannah, he drove to the hospital to deliver the Gemara. I think that's what happened at the end. So, Shloime Henech Schwinger says, there's no greater joy than being on a night flight to the UK and doing the daf. If there's any way to bring some light to the darkness of England, it must be spreading the inspiration of rebellion and MDY by living the daf. Rabbi Isai. Shkoyach. In the second picture, here, so here's Henach on a flight, learning the daf. But better yet, look at this picture. In the second picture, no mask, but there's nobody on the flight. I literally pinned down my uncle Avrohom Schwartz. Remember Avrohom? He was on Zoom every day. I thought he's gone. I thought he's still part of it. So he pinned him down so he could show off his MDY sticker. He would never want to be on camera. Mashiach must be coming if a humble Litvak like himself is driving around with an MDY sticker on his car. Here it is, his car with the MDY, and this is Rabbi Avrohom. We were supposed to interview him, do a minute. I don't know what happened with him. Okay, so Rabbi Avraham is still around. Now, Rabbi Isai, I got to give you a little bit of background to this email, which really touched my heart. Actually made me cry, shtickle, and then I decided maybe I shouldn't read these emails anymore. I don't have the emotional capacity, but it was great. So I was in Los Angeles. Remember, I was doing some shiurim over there in Los Angeles, and I walk out of my hotel on the way to a shiur, and there is a guy by the name of Dovi Hirschberg, and he's talking to his friend. He says, Rebelli, I just flew, I made all these flights. I said how he wanted to come to the shiur, to the live shiur. So he rearranged his flights. He lives in Los Angeles, but he rearranged everything. So I can't believe I'm standing right here in the hotel. Fine. Here's an email. It was very special to meet you in Los Angeles and attend the live shiur. I'm reaching out as promised to share my support and service to you and your family if you ever need anything here in Los Angeles. I grew up here in the Brea area, Los Angeles, and I'm sober 3.5 years now. I try to give back to the Jewish sober community as much as possible. Quick side note. As you can see from my appearance, I'm not the guy who anyone that sees me or knows me would bet I was doing the daf. It's a crazy story how I started and found you, and even crazier that I'm still keeping up daily. I've never learned like this and looked forward to learning. I never learned like this and looked forward to learning. Not because I don't like learning, but because it has always been too difficult for me. With that said, I'd like to sponsor $1,000 worth of free Gemaras for every Masechta going forward. Rabbi Isai, there's 43 Masechtas in Shas. I don't know if he knows it. So this is pretty good. $43,000 over 7 years. It's a great idea. Why? Because he wants other people to benefit from learning Gemara and getting a free Gemara. Usually, I would ask to sponsor anonymously. But since I'm the last guy people would think is doing the daf, you're welcome to use my name. So if one guy sees me and starts when he looks at me and says, if he can, I can, it will be worth it. Unbelievable. P.S. Listen to this. I'm very much looking forward to making my sim on Sukkah, on Sukkahs, in my Sukkah, which I'll now have built with a lot more attention to the halachas. And you can best believe I'll be buying the Ferrari of Lulav and Esri this year, with gratitude, Dovi Hirschberg. Unbelievable. I don't know, touched me, big time. He's giving, his lulav is different. His esrog is sukkah. He wants to give back. Unbelievable. All right. Here's Rabbi Tifrim room with his baby. Everybody see this? Not the youngest baby we had, but here he is. Yishkoyach. By the way, talking about Gemaras and sponsoring Gemaras, tomorrow, maybe the day after, I want to announce a tremendous project that we're doing that has to do with everybody in MDY, even current people. Don't buy your Gemaras yet. Something big happening for the next Masechta. All right, we are holding Daf Yud Beis, and by the way, if you want to be like, you have to tune in. If you want to be like Rabbi Hirschberg, go to sponsor MDY. What is it? MDY sponsor MDY.com? Sponsor MDY.com if you want to be part of it. Right before Yom Kippur, Chaperein, Rabbi said Chaperein. Says the Mishnah. We are holding Daf Yud Beis Amud Aleph by a brand new Mishnah. Official Mishnah sponsored by official Refuas Shleima Braina Bas Yenta Devaira. Beis Shammai Oimrim Emoitzin Loi Esakoton V'Loi Salula V'Loi Sevetayra L'Shus Rab. We're talking about carrying on Yontif. What is the big problem with carrying? The Gemara is going to discuss. Say by Shammai, you cannot take out a child, you can't carry a child, you can't carry even a lulav, mamish, a few days away. Can't carry a lulav, and not even a Sefer Torah into the Rishus Rabbin. Why? What we're allowed to do is oichel nefesh. Oichel nefesh. We're allowed to do melachas that have to do with eating. Here's the pasuk. We're talking about Pesach, which is all Yom Tovim. If it has to do with food, then you could do melacha. Otherwise, you're over on this sister. This is the lav. Okay, now this lav is not as strong as on Shabbos with the skila and everything else, but nevertheless it's a lav. Only this you could do. Oichel nefesh. And we still say you're permitted to carry. Says the Gemara, Tani Tana Kamei Rabbi Yitzchok bar Avdimi. So Tana said in front of Rabbi Yitzchok, Hashoichet oilas nedava b'yantav loike. A oila, which you don't have to bring, it's not obligatory to bring on yantav. A nedava, you decided on your own to bring it, and it doesn't serve any purpose. You can't eat from it because it's a oila. It's kulei Hashem. So if you were to bring one, you shechted it on Yantif, like it. Why? According to this, because it's not oichel nefesh. And we don't have this concept that we're going to be discussing is this, it's hutter that. Since it's already mutter to shecht for yourselves, you're allowed to shecht korbanos. We don't have the concept. Who told you this thing? Bishamahi. That's a halacha according to Bishami only. The Amri, Lamrinon, Mitoich Shuhutra, Yitzal, Litzarech, Hutra Nami, Shaloi Litzarech. In our Mishnah, it seems like you don't say Mitoich Shuhutra. Now, yes, we're talking about, in our Mishnah, we're talking about Yitzal. Same thing. You could carry, permitted to carry food, even according to Bishamai, but they don't extend that to other items. Food, you can carry food, but that's it. You don't say mitoich, since it's mutter to carry food, so that's it. The whole isser flies away, and you're allowed to carry a baby, you're allowed to carry a little. No, they don't say that. You can only carry food. So memela, you could only shecht an animal you're going to eat, but a ayla that you're not going to eat, you get malchus. Beis in the Mishnah say that you're allowed to carry whatever you want. You can carry a baby, you can carry Sefer Torah. And therefore, the logic continues. If you're allowed to shecht because you want to feed your family, so you're allowed to shecht, even if you don't want to feed your family, you just want to bring it on the Mizbeach. Who told you that the machlokes is mitoich shehutra? Maybe it's a different machlokes. Dilma be'eruv v'yitzal Shabbos ve'ein eruv v'yitzal yantakum mifligi. maybe there's no Isra at all to carry. Who said there's an Isra to carry Yontif? That's a Chiyuv, that's a Malach on Shabbos, not so much to Yontif. The whole idea of an Eruv is on Shabbos. Hoitzah, carrying from Rosh Hashannah to Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos. Vein Eruv Hoitzah liYontif k'miflagi. But Beitzah will say that doesn't apply to Yontif. Mar Sovar, Beishamai hold Eruv Hoitzah Shabbos, Ve'eruv Hoitzah liYontif. It's the same. Mar Sovar, Eruv Hoitzah Shabbos, Vein Eruv Hoitzah liYontif. Kidduch Siv, it says, Yirmiyah says, V'lo yisoitziu maso mibeteichem b'yoyim haShabbos. When he tells Klal Yisrael, be careful, don't carry anything on Shabbos. He doesn't mention Yontif. B'Shabbos and Yontif loy. So you see, maybe that's the machlokes. Beis Hillel hold, look, it says in Yirmiyah, the Isser of carrying, it was only an Isser said on Shabbos. There's other Isurim. There's Lamed Ches Melachas on Yontif. Lamed Tes, this one of carrying is not one of them. Because it says Mefurish in the Navi, he explains that the whole Isser of carrying is only B'Yom HaShabbos. B'Shabbos in, B'Yontif loy. Masvul Rav Yosef, Elo mi'ato lifligu ba'avonim. Oh, it's very interesting. It seems like that the whole Isser to move a stone on Shabbos, the whole Isser of Muktzah is only based on the Isser of carrying from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. Since you're not allowed to carry from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, so Chachamim or guys are all different Gzeras. There's a Muktzah of stones, Muktzah Machas Gufa. There's a Muktzah of Klisha Malach L'Isser, Machas Chasar and Kiss, Machas Mitzvah, whatever the Isser is. But it's all because you're not allowed to carry from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. That's why they made such Yisurim. But on Yontif, that is no Isser to carry from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah, according to what you're telling me. So then this shouldn't be an Isser to touch a stone on Shabbos. You should be able to throw stones on cars on Shabbos, no problem. So if that's the truth, if that's the case, then why does the Mishnah talk about a Sefer Torah? You go all the way to the holiest of holy, talk about the lowest of the low. According to Beitzah, you're allowed to take a stone from here and bring it over there, because there's zero Isser of carrying, and since there's no Isser carrying, there's no Isser of Muktzah, because Muktzah has to do with carrying, according to this Pshat in the Gemara. And according to Bishamai, Yontif is like Shabbos, just like you're not allowed to carry on Shabbos, you're not allowed to carry on Yontif, and therefore, a stone is also to carry, and that should be the machlokes. Why are you talking about babies and lulav and Sefer Torah? So you see from here that the machlokes is not whether or not there's a problem with carrying or not. Machlokes is, are you allowed to carry something shaloi l'tzorech? No need at all. So again, it's a shaila of mitoch u'uchu lekach, a different machlokes. Like we started out the sugya. The machlokes is Avi, remind me next time to just make the bracha beforehand so I don't confuse the people on YouTube, the whole thing. Okay. So the other Avi, the Avi that brought me the water. He's a chray in it. Avi Garger. So huh? A problem for them, not for you. Yeah.
You know, you wrote email day after day to mention his name. 2 days in a row.
I did. I've mentioned plenty. And trust me, when he goes to New York, people run over to him. You're Avi Gargir. I'm going, yeah. Avi Gargir used to be a cop in New York. What's going on here? We have everything here.
And it was 9/11.
9/11. Were you at 9/11, Avi? You carried 2 people down the building? Wow, unbelievable. That's not what he said. Okay. He said nobody hears what he's saying, so I can just make up. All right, says the Gemara. Ela me'ata lifligu ba'avonim.
He used to be an aide to the president of the White House.
Which president?
Bill Clinton.
Avi Kamiansky, aide to Bill Clinton in the White House. Unbelievable. We have it all. We even have something to Chachamim here. Fine. Says the Gemara. Listen to this. But Rabbi, so this is a very important point over here. The Gemara says, so the machlokes is haitzah shaloi l'tzorech, carrying for no reason. No reason. So Rashi takes it literally. You hear, this is very important. Very important. Lo l'tzarech, says Rashi, mamish, zero need whatsoever. You decide to pick up a chair, bring it from here to there for no reason. Stam, you have nervin, whatever it is. Shaloi l'tzarech. Other Rishonim argue, if you look at Tosfos over here, 6 lines from the bottom, Tosfos is all the way in the bottom. Tosfos is all in the bottom. 6 lines. So Tosfos sticks in, it has to be a little bit of a tzarech, a little bit. So then we have our idea. Since you're permitted to carry food, because you're allowed to carry food for oichel nefesh, you're allowed to be mechalel yontav for oichel nefesh. So therefore, if you have a little bit of a tzarech, a little bit, it's not a major reason, but it's a small one. Aval shaloi l'tzarech yontav, says Tosfos, klal vaday de'osur min haTorah. What's a good example of shaloi l'tzarech klal? You go in oifem yontav l'chol, like baking from yontav to the weekday, 0 tzarech, umaytzi avarim, and moving stones. The lekol l'tzarech yontav chayiv midayraisa. Unbelievable that Rashi argues completely. Rashi says that if it's shaloi l'tzarech klal, it's 100% mutter. As like Rashi, like where it almost becomes wide. Rashi says, "Udru min haTorah legamri." According to Bishamai, Rabbanon Geyser. Now, if that's the case, so Shaila, Stam Shaila, could you make a achnasa sefer Torah on Yontif? Could you carry a sefer Torah in the street on Yontif? So according to Tosfos, it would seem like it's a problem. And we actually paskin like that. If it's shaloi l'tzarech, it's not a tzarech. You don't have to carry it. You have plenty of sefer Torahs in the Aron Kodesh. You don't need this extra 5th, 6th sefer Torah. So why are you carrying it? It's not a tzarech. It seems like it's not a tzarech klal, and it would be a problem to do so. That's number 1. And then I saw something stam that's not again to the sugya, but I thought it was interesting. I just want to throw it out there for the olam. Is there a problem to close off a main street in a city, a busy street, for Achlas Sefer Torah? Tircha de Tzibura. Now you're messing up the city. Everybody has to go around. Isn't that? What do you say? Kavod Torah. So Reb Zilberstein said that he thought it's a big problem. He told him not to. They should go through side streets, this, that. But Reb Chaim Kanevsky says like you, Mendy. It's Kavod Torah. You should close off a street. What, at the Koilel? Oh, so at the Koilel, yeah, very good. So at the Koilel, when we had it was literally a 3-minute dance, that giant truck came, and I felt really bad. A woman came, religious woman, she came over and she started screaming at the truck driver. She says, "Turn off the music." I think she missed an opportunity. She ruined it. It was 3 minutes, it was the middle of the day. It was 11:30 in the morning. Turn it, it's too loud. You're waking up people in their houses. I think she missed an opportunity. Okay, anyway. What? We didn't close the street, garnish. We danced on the sidewalk, and then the truck was pulled over. But it was loud. You know, they have these big. Okay, fine. So they did your shoulder, but it wasn't carrying. It wasn't carrying. There was an Eruv, and there's a whole thing. I'm saying, could you carry? Yeah, we're talking about shaloi l'tzarech, carrying shaloi l'tzarech. Yeah, Chol Sefer Torah is beautiful. On Shavuos, that's the best way to do it. They say that when you should, I think some Sofer said, I saw, you're supposed to do a Chol Sefer Torah right before Shavuos. That's like the ultimate. So they did it on Shavuos, and there's no carrying because there's air, the whole thing. Yeah. No truck, no nothing, no torches. You save a lot of money. The item was there anyways, okay? Fine. Oh no! Before we go on, there's one little bit of a problem. A little bit of a problem because so what's machlokes? Think about it a second. Machlokes is on Yontif, could you carry or not? But what do we do with the pasuk? Yirmiyah says, don't carry on Shabbos. In other words, you're allowed to carry on Yontif. So how can you say that you can't carry Yontif? Who argues on that? How can you argue on this pasuk? That's Rashi's kasha. So look at Rashi for a second. Beautiful Rashi. It's like 6-7 lines from the bottom. And he says, in Rashi, the Masu Pligi, Pligi Hashem is Kami Yeshisoi Soli Yontif Viyu Kol B'Machna. V'yeshna Mishar Melachos. V'yirmiyah Hayim Azir Al Shabbos Shem Chamurim V'Halavaishi Yishmu. Says Rashi, it's not a steer to the pasuk. You're right. Yirmiyah spoke about Shabbos, but he really meant Yontif also. The reason why he said Shabbos, he's like, Tafasta Merubah like Tafasta. Halavai Klal Yisrael should listen to Shabbos, which is Chomer. You get skila if you're over on it. Let them first keep Shabbos, then we'll talk about Yontif later. But he wasn't, it's not like he said, oh, it's mutter to carry a Yontif. That's how Rashi learns this, but it's a very important point to point out. Says the Gemara. We're holding like, again, 7 lines from the bottom of the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan Sovar. And Rabbi Yochanan also agrees to this idea that the machlokes in the Mishnah is, do we say the concept of Toich Hutra, since you're allowed to carry for food, you're allowed to carry for other stuff. That's the machlokes. Since I'm a Toich. Rabbi Yochanan Sovar Metoich Shudju Heitzol Tzoirech. Hutra Nami Shaloi Tzorich Pligi. That is machlokes. I already allow you to carry for food. Carry everything. There's no issue to carry. The Tani Tanaka made Rabbi Yochanan, because the Tana said in front of Rabbi Yochanan, Hamevashel Gid Hanoshe B'Cholav B'Yomtiv. What's the Gid Hanoshe? Sciatic nerve. Here's the picture that we use throughout Chulin from Rabbi David Sefer. But there's another picture I want to show you. This is from Kol Shon Sefer, and it's a little bit clear almost. Here you see the foreleg, and here it just goes right here. This white, you can see it very, very clearly. This is a sciatic nerve. And if you learn how to do it, you could, here's a guy's thumb, actually pulled it out a little bit. And that's why Sfardim, they just take this right out. They have a Messiah how to do it, and then they go ahead and they eat it. So if you take this Gid Hanoshe obviously is a Raisa to eat. So there's no heter of oichel nefesh. Oh, I need a cook today. You don't have to cook because it's also for you to eat that. So I'm a vashel Gid Hanoshe b'chalav. What? Yeah. So some Ashkenazim eat it. I ate it a few times. You go to basar chalav, they don't tell you, oh, it has the basar not chalav, basar lechem basar. Did I say basar? Yeah. That's a good name. Yosef is shaking his head.
That's next to like a chazir.
Listen, what?
They don't tell you.
They don't tell you. It should say in the menu. It should say.
Right? You need to ask. You know that.
Right. If you don't have Messiah, you do have Messiah. Listen, I was in a restaurant. My son convinced us to go to some restaurant in the Shuk. So we're eating there. And I'm looking at the menu, and I'm like, wait a minute, this is probably, what is it called? Sinta steaks, but what is it called? The rear, no, how do you call that part of the animal? It's from the hind, whatever. So I asked the waiter, is this from the hind? Yeah. So I said, so it's only for Svardim? Yeah. So I'm looking around. Everybody there is Hasidish. They're all from Borough Park. I'm like, Rabbi Isai, this is not your hechsher exactly. You're not, in Borough Park, you wouldn't be eating this. He says, Favus nicht. So I explained to them, there's the hind and this, we don't eat it. All right, I already ordered it. It's beside, whatever. Okay. So that's just in the shuk. It's okay, fine. Anyway, what happens in the shuk stays in the shuk. Have some moment. Try. If you're makban on Chalav Stam, maybe you should also be makban on this. I don't know. Hilla, I know that you eat it. I didn't want to say anything. We already spoke about it 20 times. I know if there's a guy that's a good menaker, I don't know. Okay, it's still Shiloh. No. There are Ashkenazim that eat it. If the Sfardi has a Messiah how to take it out, no, the Sfardi knows how to take it out.
we don't eat it.
Fine. Let's not get into it. We're not getting into it. If you're in the shuk and you already ordered and the guy knows how to take it out, then it's not a problem. No, and you're already ordered. If you're sitting there right now, you're watching, fine. Next. Yeah, don't listen to anything I say when halacha, forget about it. Next. Wow. Yes.
Next
siyum in the shuk. Gewaldig. Okay. Weiter. The Tani Tanaka made the Rebbe Yochanan. No, I'm serious. There was a big need on this. There's Ashkenazim from our shul that eat it, no problem. They say if that guy is a Messiah, it's not that we don't have a Messiah not to eat it. We just don't mess with it. It's too complicated. What? Lazy. Ashkenazim are lazy. And there's an whatever. That's from Chaim. Reb Chaim, I saw him eating steak once like that. Okay. The guy only eats bread. Everybody knows he eats pasma melech toicha. All right, fine. Says the Gemora. What's going on here? Let's get to the issue here. There's a way that a person is chayev 5 malchus. He takes this gid anosha and he cooks it together with milk. B'yantif, on yantif. And he eats it like a chamish. It's a little interesting because it's not mamish b'vasachas. He eats it here, he's mavashal there. Fine, but there's a way to get 5 malchus. Like a mishum mavashal gid. First of all, he is cooking this gid anash. V'loika mishum oichal gid, and he's eating the gid. V'loika mishum mavashal bas b'chalav. And as we know, bas b'chalav has 3 surim. One of them is to cook it. V'loika mishum oichal bas b'chalav. The second one is also because he actually ate the basar b'chalav. Veloika, and Daf Amud Beis, mishum avara, and he made a fire. Omar lei, puk, tani levara, go outside. Rabbi Yochanan in Shas says this at least 5 times. It's his catchphrase. You're saying narishkeit, that you could say outside, not over here, not in Beis Medrash. Havaro bishul ain't a mishnah. There's no isser on Yontif to cook something that you're not allowed to eat. And even if you say that's a mishnah, that's bishamai, we don't pass it like that. Oh, so you see, Rabbi Yochanan subscribes to this idea that the whole machlokes is mitoich. Since I'm allowed to, here he says in Mefurish. That's bishamai that don't believe mitoich. Beis Hillel do believe mitoich. Since you're allowed to cook this, you're allowed to cook that. There's no isser to make a fire for gid anosha. There's other isurim. Yes, of course, you're not allowed to eat it. But the fire part, no, you're not chayav for the fire. We just let's just say we turn to Yud Beis and Beis, sponsored by the MDY Tehillim group. For those who need Shidduchim, Refuas and Yeshuos, please join tehillim.8mindav.com and by Shlomo Lalezarian from Los Angeles in honor of my wife, who's Moisa Nefesh V'Toiro. The Beis Hillel, according to Beis Hillel, you're not over making a fire on a gid anosha because you're allowed to make a fire to make steaks. So you're allowed to make a fire. You're not over if you make a fire to cook up a gid anosha. Okay, so you see that Rabbi Yochanan also subscribes to this idea. The next Mishnah, sponsored by Fishel, Refuas and Yeshuos Yosef ben Chana. By the way, these Mishnahs are available. Nobody really bit. This is Fishel, is exclusive, but if somebody wants, it's only $100 to sponsor a Mishnah. Zok the Mishnah. Now, Amud Beis is $1,000. That's something else because it's a whole month, but there's one Mishnah. Sometimes the Mishnah lasts for weeks. Zok the Mishnah.
Fishel wants people. Fishel doesn't want to keep sponsoring.
I know. That's why I said it. Yeah. Fishel would like other people to join him.
Stop it.
He can't stop. It's an addiction. He can't stop. He loves giving to Torah. He loves it. Yeah. So, I was going to say about the Merid Nakash, but not now. Fine.
It's very hard for you to control yourself.
I can't control. I'm also addicted to these things. Zok the Mishnah. We know that it's usher to take truma and meiser. We had it just recently. You're not allowed to take truma and meiser on Shabbos and Yom Tov. You have a bunch of fruit and you can't eat it unless you take truma. You can't do it on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Why? Because you're misakim mana. You're fixing something on Shabbos. However, challah, which is also a type of a truma that you give to the kohen, challah. Today we just burn it, but in those days they would give it to the kohen. You're allowed to take on Shabbos on Yom Tov. Why? Yom Tov, yeah. Because you're allowed to make challah on Yom Tov. We said he has to have his hot, fresh bread coming out of the oven. Memela, you're allowed to take challah on Yom Tov. And the same thing would be with the matnos kuhuna. Matnos kuhuna. So we had mamash over here, outside of the Beis Medrash. We brought a sheep when we were learning chulin, and the author of the Sichas Chulin, Rabbi David, he came and he shechted it right here in front of the stairs. Ben David, that's you, David. Yeah, Ben David, Rabbi Ben David. What's it, Itamar or something? I forgot. Itamar. Amitai. Major. What's that? Yeah, I know. I said hello to him. Shalom Aleichem, Doc. Spacing out. Yeah. So he came here and he did this whole, it was beautiful. He cut open the animal and he did a half shot and he showed us how to do the shchita and all the parts. But he finally got to the Zroya L'chayayim V'Keva. We talk about it so much, but I looked for the picture. I have to find the picture. So anyways, it was my sheep. I bought it. So I had the right to give it to whoever I want. And I learned the halacha that day that you're supposed to give it to a kohen, but you could also give it to somebody who's married to a kohenes. If his wife is a kohen, you give it to him. So my chavrus Rabbi Yedidia, my Rebbe, he's married to a kohenes, so I gave it to him. It's the foreleg, the cheeks, and the keva, the intestines. You can make kishka out of it. Put it all in a nice bowl. It's mine. And I gave it to him. It's matnes kuhuna. That's what you give to a kohen from every animal you shecht. That you could do on Yom Tov. Why? Because you're allowed to shecht on Yom Tov. So you're allowed to shecht on Yom Tov. Now, the difference is, though, just one difference that I can think of. Challah, without giving the kohen the challah, you can't eat the dough. Can't eat the challah. An animal, you're allowed to eat the animal without giving the matnes kuhuna. You'll give it later. Okay, but you're allowed to give it on Yom Tov. Says the Mishnah, now, the lashon in the Mishnah is interesting. You're not allowed to go and give it to the kohen. Taisus points out right away, it doesn't mean go and give, it means just don't give. If the kohen comes to your house, same exact halacha. You cannot give him challah and the matnes kuhuna, the zrei l'chayayim v'keva, on Yom Tov. Bein shuhumu me'emesh, bein shuhumu ma'ayayim. Says Beis Shammai, even if it happened today, you shechted the animal today, forget about that it happened before Yom Tov. Of course you can't give those. Why? Because you should have given it before Yom Tov. Anytime you have the ability to do before Yom Tov, do before Yom Tov. But I wanted to shech today, I wanted fresh meat, no refrigerators in those days. I needed fresh meat. So even though I shechted today, I cannot give the challah or the matanos today, according to Beis Shammai. Ubeisil matir, they say you're allowed to. Amr Beis Shammai, gzera shava, it's not a real gzera shava, it just means like, let's make a comparison. So here, if you notice, Beis Shammai is talking to Beis Hillel, and that's for the most part. In the Gemara, we're going to see at one point Beis Hillel say to Beis Shammai this exact svara, but it's a different man damar. Say Beis Shammai to Beis Hillel, the challah and the gifts are a gift that you give to the kohen. One of the 24 gifts you give to a kohen. And truma, this part that when you have fruit, you give a kohen, that's also matana. You can't give truma on Yom Tov to the kohen. So too, you can't give challah and the other stuff. What's the connection? Loi. You can't even do truma. You're not allowed to do it on Yom Tov Shabbos. But matanos, challah, you are allowed to. Fine. So that's the argument. Says the Gemara. So let me just tell you this sugya. It's a very, very, very simple sugya. It should take us only like 3 minutes to read all the way down to the bottom. And it goes like this. The Mishnah says, the Shammai say, it's osir to give a matana to a kohen, even on Yantif, even if he's shechted on Yantif. Okay? That's what the Mishnah says. You can read it. Even if it was shechted on Yantif, you're not allowed to give it to the kohen. So now, we're going to have 3 shitas. And the Gemara says, which one adds up to the Mishnah? Which one is similar to the Mishnah? So shita, this one is acherim. You're not allowed to you're not allowed to bring a matana that was shechted on Yantif. Does that match this? Very much so. It's identical. It's just not the same word. I want to make it larger. According to acherim, asur nishchat b'yantif. Just because there's not enough room for words. If it was shechted on Yantif, you're not allowed to give to the kohen. That mamish fits the red. Now let's go to the next one. According to Rabbi Yehuda, also erev Yantif. That doesn't fit because the Mishnah says on Yantif. So green doesn't fit with red, and purple doesn't fit at all. It's completely out of the ballpark. It's Rabbi Yosi, Oyser, Truma, erev Yantif. Who's talking about Truma? The Mishnah is talking about Matanis, Chala, and Zerel Chaim Keva. We didn't even mention Truma, just in the Hagdama. That Truma you're allowed to do on Shabbos and Yantiv, but that's not in the Mishnah. So purple doesn't match red, green doesn't match red, it's blue. That's only if the Mishnah says the red, that the Mishnah is talking about on Yantiv. What if the Mishnah is not talking about Yantiv? The Mishnah is only talking about erev Yantiv. So then, I'm just telling you the whole sugya al peh in a second. If the Mishnah is talking about erev Yantif, and Acherim are talking about erev Yantif, so they match, and Rabbi Yehuda says erev Yantif, so everything matches. It's because you assumed that the Mishnah is talking about Yantif, so you have a little bit of a problem. How does the green match up to the red? But if the Mishnah is talking about erev Yantif, so it fits in beautifully. He says erev Yantif, and then Acherim, you just have to stick in that they're talking about erev Yantif because they don't really mention. Acherim doesn't mention if they're talking about erev Yantif. So just say, no, Acherim is talking about Erev Yantiv, and everybody matches up beautifully. Erev. We're talking about Erev Yantiv, everything matches. Now, let's see it inside. I'm telling you, it flies. It's a lot of words. It looks big and fat, but it's very, very simple. Because Solka Daitach, the Havamina was that we're not talking about Erev Yantiv. We're talking about Yantiv. Shuhumu Mahayoim, B'shenishchutu Mahayoim. The matanas happened today, and the shechita happened today on Yantiv, and also whether they shechted it on erev Yantiv and took the matanas on erev Yantiv. According to Beitzah, you're allowed to give it to the kohen even on Yantiv, and according to Bishama, you can't. So if so, who does our Mishnah go according to? It can't fit like anyone, only like the blue. Because the blue says, Nishchat biyantiv. Biyantiv matches. Beautiful. But they say Erev Yantiv. And Rabbi Yosi talks about Truma, not Nugeh at all. It's something else completely. The Sanya. Now let's see it inside. Omar Rabbi Yehuda, he says, no. Anything that happened Erev Yantiv, there's no machlokes at all. Shema Yilichin. If you have a matana, you have challah, let's say. Talk about challah, because Rashi points out, it says matanis the whole time, it's talking about challah also. It's just easier to say one word. We could wrap our heads around challah. We see the wives doing challah all the time. We don't know what matanis are. So we'll talk about challah. If you have challah from Erev Yantiv, your wife made a batch of challah, Erev Yantiv, she has a piece of challah, Erev Yantiv. So that's mutter, according to everybody, says Rabbi Yehuda, if you're going to give it together with a matana that happened today on Yantif. Wait a minute. Bishamai are saying that if you gave a matana on Yantif, so they say you're allowed to give a matana on Yantif. Doesn't say in the Mishnah you're not allowed to give a matana on Yantif. So this can't be. This doesn't work with our Mishnah. You're allowed to give a matana, a piece of challah that you have from Erev Yantif, together with a piece of challah that you have on Yantif, according to everybody, even according to Bishamai. It doesn't work with our Mishnah. Not like our Mishnah. Because in our Mishnah says that on Yantif, you're not allowed to give even Bein Shumu Mahayim, says Big Shammai. Where's the machlokes according to Yehuda? Ela lohilichon b'fnei atzmon. You take the erev Yantif stuff and give it by itself. You have a piece of challah that you were mafresh before Yantif, and you want to give it to the Kohen on Yontif, but it's Erev Shabbos, Erev Yontif Chala, not Erev Shabbos, Erev Yontif Chala. Where's the whole machlokes? On Erev Yontif Chala, Erev Yontif Zerel Chayim V'Keva. But not something that happened on Yontif, because something that happened on Yontif, according to Bishami, you're allowed to give it. No, that goes against our Mishnah. So what was their svara? We saw in the Mishnah, Bishami told Bisil. Chala is one of the gifts you give to the Kohen. So make a comparison between Chala and Truma. You're not allowed to give a Kohen on Yontif Truma that you separated before Yontif. So you can't do Chala either. No connection between Truma and Chala, very different. You can't take Truma on Yontif, but you could take Chala on Yontif. Omer Rabbi Yossi. Here comes Rabbi Yossi in purple. The zero machlokes that you're allowed to give all the gifts to Kohen on Yontif. He sticks in the word Truma. We're talking about Truma now. We're not talking about Chala. And therefore, this doesn't go like our Mishnah. This Rabbi Yossi does not go like our Mishnah. Because he's talking about Truma, and he says there's no machlokes at all. Our Mishnah says there is a machlokes when it comes to matanas. And this is the svar that Beisil said. Now you see, just as I want to point out, Beisil are talking now, not Beishamai. In our Mishnah, it was Beishamai doing all the talking. Amru lehem Beishamai gzeira shava. And now he uses the same exact words almost, the same logic, but it's Beisil talking to Beishamai. What's the logic? Chala is one of the gifts. And just like you're allowed to give a matana, you're also allowed to give truma, say Beisil. Now Beishamai using Beisil's svar of the Mishnah. No connection. You're not allowed to take truma. And now here comes the blue. Acherim say, we're not talking about truma. We're talking about the gifts. Chala, Zerel Chayim V'Keva. Now look, do Acherim mention when? They don't say a word. They don't say Erev Yontif. They don't say Yontif. They say, the whole machlokes is, could you bring it to a Kohen or not? When? I don't know when you shechted it. So Mela, that fits in. Says the Gemora, Leima, Achermi, V'lo Rabbi Yehuda, that will fit right in here. We'll just stick in that they're talking about Yontif. The Mishnah is talking about Yontif. Boom, it works. And all the Gemara is going to do is no. The Mishnah is talking about Erev Yontif, and Acherim are also talking about Erev Yontif, because Acherim don't mention if we're talking about Yontif or not. Omar Rava says, Rava, no, you don't have to force the Mishnah like the blue, like Acherim. The Mishnah could go even according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yossi, forget about it. We're not even going to try to go like Rabbi Yossi, because Rabbi Yossi is talking about Truma. How does the Mishnah go like Rabbi Yehuda? Omar Rava, Miktani Shurum Mahayim, V'shinishtu Mahayim. Shurum Muktani. All it says is that there was matana taken. It doesn't say when. And it happened on Erev. Lema Rabbi Yehudi v'lo Acherim. So perhaps it goes only like Rabbi Yehuda, because Acherim don't talk about Erev Yontif. Afilu teima Acherim ubahanach denishchatu me'emesh. No, it goes like Acherim, and it's also talking about Erev Yontif. So look what's going on here. You have Rabbi Yehuda says Erev Yontif. You have Acherim that say Erev Yontif. You have the Mishnah say Erev Yontif. So then there's no difference between blue and green. What's the difference? They're saying the same exact thing. Oh, it's such a great kasha that the Gemara asks it. That what? If you have extra, you have your what happened there? You have matanas that you took on Erev Yontif. So Bishami say you can't take those matanas that are Erev Yontif and bring them on Yontif to the Kohen. But on Yontif, you did it on Yontif, you're allowed to. Why? Because you had plenty of time to be mechalal Erev Yontif. Why do it on Yontif? You want to bring it to the Kohen, do it on Erev Yontif when you shechted it. But what if you shechted on Erev Yontif and you shechted on Yontif itself also? That on Yontif you're allowed to bring to the Kohen according to everybody, according to what we're saying now. So now you just want to schlep an extra bag. my stuff that I have my Erev Yantiv in, I want to bring that also. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's okay. It's tafel. It's just, I'm going anyways to the Kohen. I might as well bring my stuff from Erev Yantiv. And according to Acherim, you cannot do so. So that's the whole machlokes between Acherim and Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, halacha keRabbi Yosi. Wow. This Rabbi Yosi that we were like, he's not part of the Mishnah. That's the halacha. That what? That you're allowed to bring truma, not the matnos kaya, not the Zorel Chaim Keva and the challah. Truma. You're allowed to bring truma on Yantiv to the kaya. Rav Toivi, Bereder of Nechemia Havale Garba the Chamra the truma. He had a whole barrel of wine. Truma Osla Kameder Rav Yosef. Omar Lei Malam Tui LeKoyno Idna. Can I bring it now to the kohen? Omar Lei Hacham Rav Yehuda Mashmuel Halacha keRabbi Yosi. You're permitted to bring it to the kohen on Yontiv. Have a wonderful day.